I just thought it'd be fitting that I actually explain why we've been talking about Ben 10, what my connection is with the franchise. And it's basically, I've been watching the show when it first aired, back in December of 2005. And I just came across it randomly. It was on, so I was like, oh, I'll watch that. And I've basically been a fan of it ever since then. So much that I've collected the toys as the show was airing. I wasn't able to collect all of them, but there's just some of them I was collecting as the show was airing. And basically, and I was also buying the DVDs. These are the individual volumes. I have since started replacing them with complete season sets, but hey, I like keeping these around because they're something I had when I started watching this show, or more specifically when I was first collecting it. And we also have trading cards that I collected. And grab the last one. And I also have collected some of the video games as well, like Protector of Earth, Ultimate Alien Cosmic Destruction, Omniverse, the first Omniverse game. I have played the other games, but I just don't have physical copies of them at this moment. Yeah, I mean, it's literally just them. But yeah, that's just a little history of me, the franchise. And I also wanted to introduce Troy and, well, initially it was just Troy, but then Nanette said she was watching it with him, so I brought her in as well, so I could hear both of their opinion on the shows as we were going through. Welcome, Autobots and Decepticons. My name is Matthew Flynn, the Gladiator of Kaon, and I'm joined by Karton the Klingon Cleric, and for the first in a while, Netter of Net Network. Welcome.
Hello.
Good morning. Yeah, it's like I've been so crazy busy working overtime, and we've had construction going on in the house I've had to deal with, so yeah, I haven't been able to be here.
So what did you think of that little intro I made?
I like that. Yeah, it's very informative.
It does make sense to a new viewer, right? What's going on with the show? Yeah, it's a good setup.
Yeah, it's like, this is how I got started. This is, what drew me to it. This is what I collect. This is awesome.
Yeah. Maybe it's because I'm the one that edited it together, but I feel like there were some parts that I probably should have edited out. That might just be the fact that I'm the one that edited it, and I kind of that, that creative mindset of you make something and you go, oh, this isn't quite right there, or this could be better, that sort of thing.
You're your own worst critic, they say. Yeah.
That's probably what that is, but I don't know if either of you noticed anything that probably should have been edited out or anything like that.
Yeah, I've done that before too, because I'll look back at a video I did and it's like, oh, I should have kept that out, or oh, I thought I included this bit,
Yeah. So today we are talking about Ben 10 Omniverse Season 4. Now, Nanette's not been here for Seasons 2 and 3, so I have no idea if, Nanette, if you were watching the seasons with Troy as well, or if you were just completely out of it.
Just trying to, but so with everything going on, it's kind of out in the background, kind of half paying attention.
Honestly, though, I think that kind of does come down to what I've been talking about the past couple of weeks, that this has not really been our favorite show, and the fact that it doesn't catch our attention, and can be just left on in the background, not a good sign for the show.
Yeah. So this is for me, this is the second season where I haven't actually seen any of the episodes. Obviously, before watching them and talking about them now.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Yeah, pretty much every episode in this season is basically my first time watching it now.
Gotcha.
So I'm basically just as fresh on this as you are.
Sure.
So this time we're in the same boat.
How are you
Yes.
feeling about it?
I definitely enjoyed some of the episodes in this. There was definitely 1 or 2 episodes where I feel like I wouldn't have minded if they weren't in the show.
Yeah.
Not necessarily bad, but more of just like not super interesting either.
I think what bothers me about, and this isn't just Ben 10, this is any of my favorite franchises. When we get something that's mediocre, and especially when there's a plot point that misses some big opportunities, it kind of makes me mad. Because it's like, look, I love this thing. I don't get enough of it as it is. And you're giving me filler BS,
Yeah.
I expect better.
There is one thing that a few episodes do later on in the season that I thought was kind of interesting and the show hadn't really done.
Mm-hmm.
Although that same episode also featured kind of a moment that kind of confused me as to why a certain thing didn't happen, even though it clearly would have made sense to.
Right.
I'll get to that when we actually get to the
But
episode in question.
that general sense you just described, I've seen many times in Ben 10, and that could be frustrating. We've already established this, that, and the other. Why didn't this happen here?
Yeah.
Or where I was listening to Troy's commentary on the last time he was on. Where he's like, why are they like, this had already happened. Why are they like retconning it or whatever? It's like, or just completely just changing something that we already knew.
Right.
Yeah. That was Store 23, wasn't it? Because I remember we talked about that episode was basically Ben encountering a alternate 10-year-old version of himself.
Yeah.
Who basically goes through the same lesson he's already been through, and he's like kind of sort
and
of
at least there it makes sense because they're specifically saying, we know that he's already been through this. We're doing this again with a different version of him. But, that hasn't been the case in previous incarnations. And I don't know. This whole season especially has felt like big soft retcons that it's like, you don't do that to fans,
Yeah. There were some things in this season that I did like. It's kind of, I suppose that's really only parts of the episodes I enjoyed, little bits that I liked, but overall, I probably would watch this season again if I had the DVD, of course. Sadly, this is a season where I don't have the DVD. And then when we get to season 5, or after when we get to season 6, there won't be any DVDs for me to collect, which is kind of depressing.
Yeah.
Or at least for me, it's kind of depressing.
Team Ghost Planet 3.0 said Ben 10 had a crossover in Crossover Nexus with Reboot Earth Ben, and Cartoon Network 20th Anniversary had original series Ben, Alien Force, Ultimate Alien Ben, and Omniverse Ben. They said that and then she says the reboot Ben was like all 3 Bens from the 20th anniversary.
Okay.
Interesting.
I'm going to assume that's information from the Ben 10 reboot, which I haven't seen, so I don't. I've seen the like a screenshot of the image of like different versions of Ben from the different shows, all in like the reboot. But I don't know if that's actually like those versions.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's like her son Jake loves Ben 10, so whenever she could come on to the the show. I know she comments about it.
Yeah. Okay, so first episode, Food Around the Corner.
I love that title. That's probably the best thing from this season for me so far. That title.
If I'm not mistaken, it's referencing Looney Tunes cartoon.
It does. It does. And oh gosh, the cartoon was basically about a group of fleas that are pestering a dog. And when they're singing a song. The song of food around the corner, food around the corner, food around the corner for me. And they do this throughout the thing. And what they're invariably doing is they're gathering up some of his skin to bite it. That's their food, right? That's how fleas operate. And this poor dog is fighting to get rid of the fleas. And like towards the end, just when he thinks he's done it, he hears the singing again. He goes, "Oh no!" You know, yeah, it's classic stuff.
Yeah, yeah. This episode basically does the same thing.
Yeah,
or partly the same thing. There's obviously a different story going on, and this episode shows us other Apoplexians other than Raph. And they all talk like him. Although they're wearing clothes, which I find funny is the fact that Ben actually like stopped for a moment and was like, "Wait, you're wearing clothes?" And like, I do find that funny.
Yeah, it's
like the whole time it's like Raph has been naked the whole time.
Yeah, it's like one of the quotes I have for that is, "You're wearing pants? Wait, you wear clothes?" He goes, "Of course we wear pants. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Tennyson, we have a highly advanced sense of shame. Oh, yeah." But that would mean that Wrath has been running around, what? Naked.
You know, I never got the I never got the sense of like the this like the shame thing with Apoplexians.
Yeah, good point.
Apparently they have a highly advanced sense of shame. And just Wrath never knew that.
So that kind of makes sense, considering Ben didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like whenever they have been instantly knowing something, it's like, how does he know that? He shouldn't know that. This is the first time he's encountered whatever. So the fact that he had no clue that Wrath was running around naked, it's like, okay, yeah, he wouldn't have known that until he actually saw another of the same species.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the one of the Apoplexians, this one right here, he is actually voiced by Jim Cummings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a very prolific voice actor. Actually, I think Jim Cummings might have actually been in a Looney Tunes cartoon, or one of them.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, he's one of those voice actors who's been in like 90% of the cartoons that have been made.
Well,
You know, along with Frank Welker, who has literally been in 90% of the cartoons ever made.
Right.
One of the other quotes I have that I thought was funny is, Poltroon is saying, "You're the universe's greatest hero. You don't seem impressive." And Wrath is like, "Wrath isn't about being impressive. Wrath is about being angry. And Wrath's angry is impressive." And he attacks him. He goes, "This is for trying to blow up my people." And he throws him.
That kind of reminded me of like Sam from Lord of the Rings. You know, when he thinks Frodo's dead and he's like chasing after them and knocking orcs off the stairs as he's going up. That might not have been what they were intending, but that's what I saw when I watched that. I also like the fact that Ben, with Ben's like the different things that Ben's doing, kind of, he's not really helping with the negotiations in any direct way, but there's some of the stuff that he does indirectly cause the peace treaty to actually go through properly.
Isn't it how it always is though with Ben? He accidentally makes something positive
True.
instead of it being a complete disaster. I mean, usually it starts off as a disaster and then he inadvertently fixes it.
Yeah, or he like with him mistransforming, it's not the alien he wants, but he still finds a way to make it work.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I need, what's his name? Giganosaur, whatever? Yeah, the really big one. And he ends up
Humongosaur,
being,
yeah.
Humongosaur, yeah. And he ends up being, what's the tiny brain guy? The smart one.
Gray matter.
Gray matter, yeah.
It's like, it's right on the tip of my tongue. And he's like, what am I supposed to do with this? But he makes it work. It's like, I can do this. I can make this trap. I can do, whatever. Exactly.
I think that's probably Ben's best ability, is his like adaptability with like whatever situation he's in.
Well, I'm still shocked that, he always comes across as being kind of stupid, but then you find out he's actually really smart. He just doesn't apply himself.
Well, I think it's been implied, if not stated directly, that he affects a certain amount of goofiness and bumblingness because he feels like inadequate and he gets picked on and stuff at school and whatnot, and he's learned, I'm better off, with people not having high expectations of me.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous because later on in life, if he actually wants to make something of himself like a normal person, he has nothing to fall back on because he's failed every subject in school. Not that he seems to spend a lot of time in school.
True.
Yeah. Although I've found that what you learn in school isn't necessarily relevant to actually like living life once you're out of school.
Some things, not everything.
Yeah.
I have yet to use trigonometry outside of school.
Yeah. I suppose it's kind of a book smart versus street smart.
Yeah, there's so much stuff I learned in school that is totally useless to me. It's like, I've never used that.
To be honest, I don't remember most of the stuff I was taught in school. Obviously some of the basic like stuff like basic English and maths and that sort of thing. But everything else just sort of evacuated my mind.
Yeah.
Although to be fair, I've actually learned a lot more out of school rather than in school.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, like, I did not learn anything from playing volleyball or basketball or running around a gym every day for gym class. It's like, no, didn't learn anything from that. It's not like I kept up playing basketball or volleyball or running around a gym once I got out of school.
Yeah. I also noticed that because the two races involved in this like peace treaty, like the Apoplexians and then the white marshmallow poop aliens, I forgot what they're called. Because they're these white poop alien guys, they're the same ones who back in Raph's first appearance in Alien Force, because they're the ones that gave like their child to Ben to transport to the pandaphages, and Ben accidentally turned into Raph while one of these guys was near him. So I suppose this episode kind of is pulling from like some of that to kind of add a little bit more to the universe.
Sure.
Although this doesn't actually explain why Ben suddenly turned into Raph in that episode. I think this more just draws on the connection rather than actually explaining why that happened.
I think the other thing that I might note about this episode is he spends more time as an alien than he does as himself.
What, in this episode?
Yeah.
That's because they Blue Kitchen and Drever set the Omnitrix to the lifeform lock, set it to lifeform lock.
True.
So that he stays as Gravitac. And Max even like explained it because Gravitac is like a species that's very calm and patient and like that sort of thing. And and it's also something that both Apoplexians and the white and the marshmallow aliens both respect. So Ben being that specific alien kind of is the most applicable for this situation.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't really have much else on this episode.
Nope, me neither.
So now Wrath has to go out and get this whole new wardrobe.
Yeah. I think the Omniverse is supposed to like
Create
provide
clothes
the
for
clothes for him,
him. Yeah.
or at least he's supposed to be like in the specific clothes relevant to the species when he turns into them.
Yeah,
Although
but
that might be a
otherwise,
glitch.
it's got to be a glitch because every other time he's turned into an alien that wore armor or something, the armor was created with them.
Yeah. Yeah, because you see like Humongousaur, Forearms, like Jury Rig, they're all wearing clothes when he turns into them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a strange thing. That's either an inconsistency in the show with the show, like the design of the show, or maybe that's just a case of they're specifically choosing to do that.
It could also be that the artists were just being lazy and going, I don't feel like drawing clothes on this guy that we got to draw every single time. Just it's the lines are easier just to do him with nothing on.
Yeah. I don't think the artists like animating the episode. I don't think they get to choose anything. I think it's based specifically on the art designer or the like the character, specifically the character designer, and then the animators animate their designs. Next episode, The Ultimate Heist. And now we're seeing another old enemy who's making a reappearance for the first time in this show. And that being Albedo. Or Albedo. Weird, they say it in two different ways. Still not 100% sure which way is the correct way to pronounce it. I actually like the fact this episode starts with because obviously this episode has Ben and Albedo have swapped places, and Ben isn't aware of that. I like the fact that the episode actually starts with them already swapped, so you just have the episode start with like, or to our knowledge, Ben just acting unusual.
Well, whenever we see Ben or Gwen or anyone acting unusual, you know they've been swapped out for somebody else. It's their biggest tell. It's like, okay, they're not acting normally. Yeah, that's not them.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense that no one's really aware because Rook doesn't normally pick up on stuff like that too often, and also Albedo is specifically choosing to try to like make him seem like Ben is actually taking the different advice that Rook has given him. I do find it funny later on. RJ even says to Rook, like, you don't change your partner. I think there was another thing where RJ also said, I think he also said something to Rook about like about the way Ben like acts, or that Ben wouldn't take Rook's advice on like how to actually be like a better partner or something like that. I don't remember what he specifically said, but something like that.
Well, it's like one of the things that Albedo said that would have been a giveaway, because he's supposed to be Ben. He's buying something. He goes, for my cousin's birthday, and Rook is like, her birthday's in December. He goes, my other cousin, you don't know her. Now, what's interesting for this is not only did Rook know when Gwen's birthday is, which would also be Ben's birthday.
Yeah.
It's like, didn't they celebrate their birthdays over the summer? So how can their birthdays be in December?
Oh, I think Gwen was planning her birthday.
Oh.
I don't think they actually celebrated their birthday, but Gwen was like planning it out, like because in that episode Ben even pointed out why someone would be planning their birthday like months in advance.
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought their birthdays were over the summer. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of cool though, because my birthday is in December. Same as the
Yeah.
Ben's
Actually,
birthday.
the whole reason that Ben and Gwen's birthday is in December is because that's when the original show actually first aired. It was in December
Oh,
of
that's
2005.
clever. In other words, it's literally their birthday.
Yeah.
Oh, that's neat. That is really neat.
Also explains why they share a birthday. If you dig too deeply into it, you'll find everybody else's birthday is that day. Well, no, I guess they'd have to share a birthday with Grandpa Max. Everyone else could come in another episode, so could be later.
Did they ever
Yeah.
say what day in December it was?
In this episode, they don't say what it is, but in a later episode, the Doctor Animo one that showcases 11-year-old Ben, a security code that Grandpa Max says is literally the exact day of when the first episode aired from the original series.
Cool. I'm the 11th, so I wonder if it's around there.
Yeah. I do like that this one is like
Nope, December
Basically-
27th, 2005.
Darn.
2 days after Christmas.
That means that those poor kids had the same issue that I had when I was a kid.
Yep.
I would get.
You already got all your Christmas presents.
Yeah.
Now you get one birthday present. Basically a present they held back.
Well, no, what my mom would do is she would get me, some small things to open at Christmas, but she'd get me one big present that was a little bit more expensive for birthday, Christmas combined.
Yeah.
So, like one year when I was in 8th grade, she asked me, would I prefer a small television set or a tape recorder? And after weighing the pros and cons of each, I said tape recorder because I figured I could do more with it.
Yeah.
So, since it was a little bit more expensive, that was a birthday and Christmas gift.
Yeah.
And then I got the usual things at Christmas, socks, a couple shirts.
That was the same thing the year that I got my AT-AT. That was my primary gift. And then I just got
Yeah.
stocking stuffers for Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, my birthday, I basically just got some varied games from different platforms, like an original Xbox game,
Oh, nice.
a Nintendo Wii game, a PS2 game, and like 2 or 3 Xbox 360 games. Yeah, that's literally all I got for my birthday. But that's mostly because all of my family members are like in different parts of the country.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we recently watched some YouTube guy who bought a Wii off of Wish.com and was shocked that it was actually a full Wii, a knockoff, but a full Wii with games loaded and everything. And it was actually, pretty decent. It's like, so apparently
Yeah.
you can get a Wii on Wish.com.
Yeah, I mean, I have the original released Wii, that released when the version of the Wii that first released when the console actually came out, because that version is backwards compatible with the GameCube, because it has the ports for the controller and it has the port for the memory cards as well.
I'll have to take your word for it. We don't own any gaming systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have computers. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah, the Nintendo Wii that I have is literally the one that my family bought when the console first came out.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, I have had to buy new controllers because we lost them, and also buy new Wii games because those were also missing as well. Which is a shame because Zelda games are actually very expensive to buy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean my birthday was like 4 days ago, so.
Oh, happy birthday.
Birthday.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm not really the kind of person who like broadcasts like the sort of stuff out. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just because I don't like being the center of attention most of the time in group situations. So I tend not to just out of the blue go, oh hey, it's my birthday in this amount of days. Like
Yeah.
if it's close friends, then yeah, I'll tell them, or maybe they'll know already. But if it's like a large group of people that I don't know, I'm not exactly likely to just like tell people it's my birthday soon.
Sure.
It's just not in my personality, honestly.
I get that.
I do like the fact that this episode has the the return, or sort of the return of the Ultimatrix, kind of.
Yeah.
They never directly call it that, but that's basically what it is. And we even have at the very end of the episode, when Albedo gets away, he even successfully turns back into his original Galvin form, and then he goes into an evolved Galvin form, which looks like a certain Marvel villain.
I didn't catch it.
Yeah, it's the Marvel villain specifically related to Iron Man and also the organization AIM.
Oh, crap. What's his name?
Begins with an M.
MODOK.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it now.
There may even be in like an image of MODOK. I don't know. You know, I was half expecting there to actually be like a comparison image between Albedo's ultimate form and then MODOK.
Right. That would make sense, sure.
No, all I'm finding is images from random other episodes.
Yeah, thanks, Google.
It's very useful. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. That's the original series. That has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Oh, I often find that's the case with Google Images. I'll be trying to find something and it's like, that's not at all what I was looking up.
Yeah. That is really weird that the images on Google are very limited on like what you want to search. Or sometimes they have like a plentiful amount of images of what you're actually searching for, and then other times it'll be an extremely limited number. Next episode, O Mother, Where Art Thou? And this is another one of the Riedel Brother episodes.
Yep, as you would guess from the title.
Yeah, of course, Troy just mentioned the Vito brothers, and there's one point where Ben goes, the Vito brothers! And Octagon and what's his name, Rumboy, go, Ben Tennyson! And then Rook is like, why are you yelling out each other's names? It's like, well, he started it.
This is weird. This is the first time Google's decided not to try and autocorrect or like assume what I'm trying to type. Google's just sitting there going, yep, you're typing, I'm just going to let you type.
There's also a quip in there, because you know how Ben likes his chili fries? Sandra Tennyson is like, you know, Ben, you'll be happy to know I made your favorite. Chili fries? Yes, but without the chili or the fries. So I'm wondering what the heck she made him. So I don't remember what she made him. I've slept since then.
Yeah. Yeah, we have more of Marv Riedel and her being, I suppose, being a terrible parent. Or only to two of her children, and the others she's actually being nice to.
It's like, I'm not seeing it in these images, but there's that one episode where she was wearing the apron, and her apron strings actually was able to tie people up. So literally taking the expression tied to your mother's apron strings.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I think she did that in this episode as well.
I don't remember.
Or was it like the bow on the back on her back or something?
Oh, that could be. But it's interesting how they took those kind of quips and it made them a reality. Tied to your mother's apron strings.
Mm-hmm.
Literally tying someone to the mother's apron strings, you know.
Yeah, and Octagon and Rhomboid feeling like when they're feeling like they're not really being appreciated much, so they decide to take one of the pretty boys with them, and then Marv Riedel like starts rampaging through like plumber's base and trying to get their attention, and like telling them to try and like find her son. I'd also find this funny, but when they ask her what the pretty boy looks like, and she pulls out like a big picture of them, and it's like they're all clones of each other, so it's literally just an identical picture of like all of like the whole thing is just an identical picture over and over again.
Right.
She's like looking through it as if they are separate images, and then she finds the one she looks at, and she's like, that one. She actually holds up the one of them.
Yeah, that's right. They are all clones, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
I never really thought about it. I suppose that would be the same for Echo, where he's all clones when he makes himself more.
True.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's one consciousness across all of the duplicate bodies. While the pretty boys, I think they're individual personalities, maybe.
No.
I mean, we do see them, the pretty boys doing slightly different things here and there, and like reacting differently. So I think there is some difference, even though they are clones. Easy now, Melissa. This is a children's show. Although I suppose continuous cloning technically would be considered inbreeding, wouldn't it? Because you're basically copying the same material.
I suppose, yeah. I mean, actually, no. Inbred specifically means that you are drawing genetic material from very close genetic lines. A true clone would be identical. So there's zero variation.
Yeah.
And if the cloning is perfected, you're not going to have any kind of replicative fading. Whereas, when you have true inbreeding, what ends up happening is you start to see the magnification of otherwise insignificant details. That's how you end up with, oversized chins or eyes that start to drift and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I've heard people describe that as being like a copy of a copy.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure the cloning will be the exact same idea, basically.
It could. It depends on what method of cloning you're using. Right now, the modern biotechnology for cloning is pretty haphazard, and it's very hit or miss. So it's kind of like throwing a dart into a dark room and hoping to hit the target somewhere near the center. But, you would assume a more advanced race would have, perfected it so that every clone is identical and you wouldn't have that problem. Sort of like instead of a copy of a copy of a copy where you're getting, more and more fuzzy, you make a copy, and then when you make your next copy, you do some sort of digital enhancement to make it as good as the original.
Yeah. I do find it strange that this episode has Ben's mother actually like follow him around, like very like determined to give him like the leftovers of his dinner, which I thought was kind of weird.
It might have just been filler.
It was a gag for the theme of the episode, but it's another one of those things where it's like, yeah, no, this doesn't belong anywhere. This is not fitting with the rest of the whole series.
Yeah, because I think that's an overriding theme in this show, is that the writers thinking up a joke and then thinking up like a joke as like the first thing and then putting that into the episode.
Yeah, and it's not even necessarily a good joke.
I feel like some of the jokes in this show are kind of hit or miss, honestly.
Very.
It does kind of take away from some of the serious moments. Yeah, I honestly don't really have much about this episode.
Yeah, but it's things like that though that kind of takes you out of the episode. It's like you got all the other stuff going on, and then here's mom, eat your dinner. It's like, okay, it's taking you away from what you're concentrating on with the actual plots and all that. You're right. It's very weird.
Okay. Next episode, Max's Monster. Now, this episode is an episode about Phil, which I think the last time we saw Phil was in season 1 of Omniverse, I believe. Yeah, I think it was the season finale of season 1. Although he wasn't really integral to that episode, is more just part of the explanation as to how they created the Nemetrix. I'm not sure how I feel about this episode going with the idea that Phil actually is a terrible person and he's been playing them the whole time. Because obviously in the original series when Phil was trapped in the Null Void, that was kind of a raw deal. That episode originally did show that Phil wasn't exactly the best person, the most positive of person, because he was taking advantages of people to get more money for himself and everything. So he obviously wasn't a good person necessarily. But I don't know if this version, this older version of Phil that's been mutated, I don't know if him being more of a monster is necessarily a good thing or not.
Yeah.
Because we even get during the episode where Max even says that it didn't sit right with him leaving Phil in the Null Void the first time they sent him there.
Yeah, but he also says in there, it's like, we didn't toss him in the Null Void the first time for being an outstanding citizen. He's gaming us. And then Rook is like, well, Max seems to trust him. And he's like, yeah, but Phil is no Kevin.
Yeah. Yeah, and the whole time through the episode, Ben, I think, is the only one who's not really completely trusting of Phil.
Yeah.
Which does end up being the smarter move by the end.
Well, you've come to learn that whenever Ben says he doesn't trust anyone or trust a certain person, he just feels in his gut something is off, and you just should trust that.
Well, and then again, 9 times out of 10, the audience has the same suspicions. Because he usually has pretty good reason. This guy's criminal. He's been a criminal before. There's no reason to believe he's not still a criminal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's only the dumb people that go, oh, he's completely changed. See how nice he is now?
Yeah. I also like that during this episode they have every time Ben transforms into an alien, he keeps turning into one of his electrical-based aliens.
Yeah.
And that's even something that's actually intentionally in the episode. That's not something where they're just conveniently making him an electrical alien every time, but it's actually and there's an actual explanation in the episode.
Yeah,
We didn't have to wait like multiple episodes for an explanation.
He wanted to turn into feedback, and he transformed into Buzzshock, and he goes, "I'm a megawatt? That's new."
Yeah, yeah. Then he gets then he like gets all the megawatt stuff follow him and help him out. I also noticed that it's actually a patchwork, like a mix and match patchwork like combination of the plumber suit from the original show and the plumber suit from like Alien Force and Ultimate Alien.
I didn't
Not sure if
notice.
there's anything like if like the character designer was specifically trying to say something about that, or if he just was like, hey, I want to make the costume be like a patchwork of the two different suits.
Or just used what he had on hand. He had two suits, they were both damaged in some way, so he took bits from this one and bits from this one and combined them. We do that
Yeah.
in cosplay all the time.
True.
Yeah, Ben uses Ben Victor again. Although I think he changes the name of the alien. Although we never hear him say like a different name, but as far as I'm aware, the name was changed for this show. Yeah, so the alien's new name is Frankenstrike. I don't know if that's like better or worse than the original name.
So sometimes I wonder where they get these names from. It's like, really? That's what you came up with for this alien? Okay. And so original,
Yeah.
like 4 arms. Yeah, named that because he's got 4 arms. That's just so original.
It does make it memorable, though. I mean, that is the general idea. Simple is memorable.
I do have to say, though, of all of them, I think Humongosaur is my favorite name. It's also the one that makes the most sense to shout out when you turn into Humongosaur.
Yeah, but there's that other one that's bigger because it's a lot taller. I just can't remember what
Way
its name
big?
is. That it? Way big, yeah.
Yeah.
That one's bigger than Humongosaur. I
Yeah.
would turn into that one all the time and just swat these aliens like they're fleas.
Yeah, don't do that when you're indoors, though.
Yeah, you'll destroy the roof and the rest of the house.
And there are some of his aliens that are just useless, like the one that brings him into the void where he's got to be with the other 2 people who can't make an agreement.
Yeah, the potentially most
Alien X.
powerful one he can turn into tends to be the most useless.
Actually, I think Alien X is the most powerful alien he can turn into.
Yeah.
But he's useless. He can't do anything unless the other 2 agree with them, and it's like, yeah, and then he's just kind of stuck there like a statue if they don't want to let him go.
I believe the appropriate term is he's an action figure.
Yes, exactly.
Because the action figure of Alien X is literally in the exact same position. Yeah, I like the fact that at the end, nearer the end of the episode, and actually I think it might have been near the middle, where Phil actually says that actually like clarifies and like points out why Ben keeps turning into electrical aliens, and it's because like Phil is the alien he's like turning into feeds on electricity, and he's like the one who's kind of having that kind of psychological effect on the Omnitrix. I believe he also mentions that it's something to do with the Nematrix when it was like on him briefly.
Oh, he's got a connection.
Yeah. He might not be able to stop Ben from turning into an alien. He probably can only like influence the transformations into an alien that will be beneficial to him. Yeah, not really much else to say about that.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly just by the end, Grandpa Max comes to terms with the fact that Phil really is gone and just send him back to the null void. Okay, next episode, Evil's Encore.
The return of Dr. Animo.
Yep. Although this episode kind of has, it starts and ends in the present day, but the whole bulk of the episode follows, like 5 or 6 years ago, so it's following, like, 11-year-old Ben.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the fact that this episode kind of does showcase some of the aliens that Ben got late into the original series, but he didn't really use that much. You know, like Eye Guy here, where Ben actually turns into him a little more and actually uses him more. Although, now I think about it, this episode, if you was to remove the start and end where it's where it takes place in the present day, and just have just the part of the episode that takes place following 11-year-old Ben, this probably would have fit as just another episode of the original series. Like if there was like a 5th season. Yeah, and this episode has Dr. Animo used cyborg earwigs, I think they were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he uses cyborg earwigs to take over the plumber's base in Mount Rushmore. Yeah, and it's this episode where Grandpa Max says like a security code that is literally just the exact date of the show. It's of the first episode, or when the first episode aired, because it's this scene right here. There's even a video game reference in this episode. That I don't know, you may have noticed it or might not have. I'm not 100% sure because I don't really know what kind of games you've played and what ones you know about and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's basically the moment when Ben's turned into Diamond Head, like this one here, and he's fighting the drones on the bridge, and he goes over the edge, but he doesn't actually fall. He just sort of hangs there for a minute, and the drone loses track of him, and it has like a question mark pop up above its head, and the sound effect that you hear when that happens is this exact sound effect that plays in the Metal Gear Solid games for when a guard spots you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I've never played. I've heard of the game. I've never played it myself.
Ah, okay. I actually have a few of the Metal Gear Solid games. They are very fun. Although they definitely require patience, and it's not the kind of game you can just sort of rush through. You do definitely have to be patient with those games.
Sure.
Yeah. Is that noise on my end?
Yeah, it sounds like you just struck a match and lit a candle.
And now static.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's gone now.
Okay.
Yeah, that was weird. I don't know what caused that. Weirdly enough, rotating the microphone jack in my computer, like rotating that around, fixed it for some reason. Even though I didn't even catch it to begin with, so I don't know why it did that.
It's technology. Likes to be weird. You know, like Ben trying to be a specific alien. It doesn't
Right.
work.
Yeah. Although, funnily enough, apparently the final episode gives us an explanation as to why Ben turns into a random alien that he doesn't choose. Although, according to the wiki, that's what happens, but after watching the episode, I don't think that's what was being explained.
Mm,
I'll go more in depth in that when we get to the final episode.
sure.
Yeah, so this episode is basically just Dr. Animo being crazy because he's like talking to stuffed animals in a jail cell and saying about how like he's learned from previous mistakes, even though he technically hasn't learned anything from a previous mistake. But it is still entertaining to watch Dwight Schultz play this character. I think Dwight Schultz has probably become my favorite of like the villains. Or
Well,
at least of
he's
the
one of my
side
favorite
villains.
voice actors on the show too. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't think you can really go wrong with like just casting Dwight Schultz as Dr. Animo in an episode.
true.
Whether or not he's aware of whether or not the material he's working with is actually worth anything,
Yeah.
it's not really that big of a concern because from what I hear, it sounds like he gives like 100% every time. He's kind of like Tim Curry in that sense, where because he's also someone who gives like more than he probably should for a role that's probably not the best.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Tim Curry, next episode,
Yep.
Return to Forever, with the Forever Night leader being voiced by Tim Curry.
Exactly.
I think this is his first time voicing a character in this show.
Yep.
Yeah. For some reason, my mind and my fingers are not doing the same thing because I'm like sitting here going, okay, type in the name of the episode, and my fingers are going to go, okay, type the episode and go Tim Curry. Like that's not right. Here we go. Yeah, so this episode centers on the Forever Knights again.
Have we
Although-
even seen them during? Is this their first omniverse appearance?
Yeah, I believe this is their first reappearance in like
Thought so.
Omniverse since the end of Ultimate Alien. I mean, Ben even in this episode even like assumes that the Forever Knights were like properly defeated and weren't a problem anymore, which is understandable given what he went through before Omniverse.
Mm-hmm.
We also learned that the news anchor Will Harang is working with the Forever Knights in this instance. Yeah, and apparently his TV ratings are going down and are in the toilet essentially. I'm just thinking, I wonder why. Might be because he sided with the frog aliens that conquered the planet like a few months ago.
Mm-hmm. Probably. That would be my guess.
Yeah. I think the show even like makes a joke about the fact that like he sided with the incursions, and that's possibly why his ratings have gone down.
Mm-hmm.
They don't directly say that's why, but they do kind of make a joke about that. And also, this episode has kind of a mix and match in terms of like the designs for the Forever Knights. Because you have this guy sporting the Alien Force design for the Forever Knights, and then you have the two Forever Knights here on either side of him sporting the original series Forever Knights design, like the red torso, the chainmail, the gold mask.
It's what wardrobe had in stock.
Right.
I mean, we even got the Forever Night Ninjas. Yeah, there we go. We even got like 2 of these guys. Which I find it weird that the Forever Knights would have robot ninjas. I also find it weird that they had like one Forever Knight ninja back in the original series that was then destroyed, and then it took until now for them to actually start using them again. Yeah. And like with Dwight Schultz, Tim Curry is giving 100% in this role.
Yep.
It's always entertaining to hear Tim Curry's voice in a cartoon.
Well, there's a reason that they're the stars that they are, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you could probably search up like a whole bunch of terrible movies that Tim Curry have been in, and he's probably the best part of those movies.
Yeah.
I think there was a Tales from the Crypt movie that featured Tim Curry.
I think you're right.
And I'm pretty sure he's the only reason to watch that movie as well.
Yep.
Wait, is Tim Curry still alive? Because I've not heard anything from anything that he's done in a long time.
I had heard he had some health issues, but yeah, he's still around.
It's going to be very sad once he's gone.
He
is one of the few bright spots in Hollywood.
That is very, very true.
Oh, I just noticed. Actually, looking at an image from the original series, Enoch was the only one with a gold mask. The other guys just had standard grey masks. It's weird. Normally Omniverse is the one pointed out as being like more like accurate towards the original series than any of the other shows. Yeah, we also have the this moment where one of the Forever Knights is given a device that kind of can scan and then revert Ben back to his human form, and Ben keeps transforming into a different alien. Rook even says to him, "Stop transforming. You're giving them data that were on different aliens."
Yep.
And even when he's like here trapped in this bubble, he then still continues to keep changing into different aliens until something happens. And Rook's like, "Seriously, stop transforming. You're giving them more information." I just like the fact that the actual machine that the Forever Knights are using is a repurposed hybrid tower. Although they don't call it a weather tower, I think you give it a different name for it.
Don't ask me, I suck at names.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and this episode also features Jimmy. Although last time I checked, I'm pretty sure Jimmy had some kind of a connection with the Forever Knights. I think he was friends with one of them, I think. Okay, next episode. Mud is thicker than water.
It is.
Yep. I believe the phrase it's coming from is blood is thicker than water.
Exactly.
Yeah. The interesting thing that I find about this episode, which also is like, I suppose also extends to the following episode, is that this episode actually takes place at the same time as the next episode in the season. Because you have moments where Rook calls Ben, and during the middle of this episode, you have like Ben answer the phone from Rook, and then in the actual following episode, we then actually see that from that conversation from the other side.
Oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And I think this is the only instance where that happened, where they actually do that with the episodes. Now it's this episode where I noticed a detail that they probably could have like done something with, but they didn't for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially the plumber base has a plumber tech that's being leaked out and sold to Siphon's gang, and they determine they have a mole in their organization, and they're trying to figure out who it is. And by the end of the episode, it is revealed that the plumber agent that's giving Siphon's gang technology is Gorvin from the Ben 10 Alien Force video game.
Oh.
He's the same four-armed alien that I pointed out in the last season. I think it was it was special delivery. That was the episode where we saw him in the background, but we didn't actually see him. He didn't actually say anything or anything like that. He was just sort of a background character in that episode. There we go. I completely forgot to share the screen. Yeah. So basically, this is the first episode where Gorvin's actually got a speaking role, and he's actually a part of the story. And I'm going to assume that with him being here, that must make that video game canon, because that video game didn't really conflict with the overall story of Alien Force in any way. So I'm going to assume that game's canon. So it's confusing to me that in this episode, when the spy is revealed to be Gorvin, both Ben and Gwen don't recognize him. They don't say a thing about him, even though they have technically had an experience with him before. In fact, a very similar experience, because in the Ben 10 Alien Force video game, Gorvin was basically pretending to be a plumber, and he was like helping them, and they were helping him get different pieces of technology that they assumed was going towards like rebuilding the plumbers and building a team and that sort of thing. But what was actually going on was Gorvin was using this technology that they were acquiring and then selling it to the hybrid.
So rather than the game actually being canon, perhaps it's just the inspiration for this episode.
Yeah, maybe. Because I know the Ben 10 wiki itself, it only mentions that the character of Gorvin was included in the show because the art designer Derek J. Wyatt apparently really liked the toy of that character.
Nah.
There is no mention of there's mention of him appearing in the video game, but there's no mention of that influencing his inclusion in this show.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I just assume it's canon because it's not really conflicting with the previous story that was being told. So it could have very easily fit into continuity.
Yeah, one of the quotes I have on this one is, Gorvin says to Lucky Girl, well, maybe you didn't notice, but I'm bigger and stronger than you. She goes, I hadn't noticed. Gee, then this beatdown I'm putting on you must be really embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious, did you notice like the red herring? because Gwen was being like very suspicious of her cousin Lucy, who was like the shape-shifting mud alien.
Mm-hmm.
And Gwen's like basically every chance he gets, she's assuming that she's the mole in the organization.
I have to admit, I did not notice that. No.
Yeah. So were you surprised when it was revealed that she wasn't actually a mole, but rather she was, I suppose, a mole for in Siphon's gang because she disguised herself as Liam?
I mean, I guess a little bit, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, they always make you suspect someone, and then it's like as soon as it makes you suspect a specific person, you're like, that's not them. They're not the one.
And plus, you know that I'm going to be distracted by the fact that I can't stand the way they've redesigned Gwen, so.
Yeah. I mean, I had an idea that it wasn't cousin Lucy, because the way that her personality was portrayed in this episode didn't give me the impression that she would be someone who would be stealing technology from from the plumbers and then selling it to Siphon.
But how can you rely on that when they change characters' personalities on a whim just to fit a story? You know?
Yeah. I also noticed that when Gorvin was disguised as a plumber, he was like his arms were hidden and he was wearing a plumber suit. So before he was revealed to be before it was revealed that it was Gorvin, all we saw was like just a very large plumber.
Mm-hmm.
And when both Ben and Gwen were walking through these hallways, and they briefly saw someone running through the hallways, and they were like, "Hang on, no one's meant to be down here." And like for a brief moment, I saw that the shadowy figure was like very large, and they also showed like a small number of plumbers. I was like, okay, that plumber is very large, and the shadowy figure we saw was also very large. So I was like, I'm not ruling out the possibility that it's Lucy, but like her personality doesn't really indicate that.
Yeah.
Because from early on in the episode, I was kind of thinking she's probably a red herring, and it's probably someone else instead. And basically, as soon as I saw the shadowy figure, the large shadowy figure, and then I saw a very large plumber, I was like, it's probably him. And then by the end of the episode, it was him. I don't know, maybe it's either I'm very observant with things like this, or maybe I'm just like jumping to conclusion, then just sort of sticking with what I've chosen until I'm either proven wrong or proven right.
One of the other bits when Gorvan and Van and Lucky Girl are fighting, he says to her, "So you want to dance, huh?" She goes, "Well, I did take cotillion for 3 years."
Yeah, and he has a confused look on his face. I think she was even like going to like explain what that was, but then I think she was interrupted, or yeah, I think she was interrupted before she actually explained what it was.
Yeah, because he wanted the what's it called, the analog back, and that's
Analog.
Analog, yeah. And that's when he's like, "Well, I'm bigger and stronger than you," and that's when she's like, "Yeah, well, this beatdown must be really embarrassing." Oh, 3 years of cotillion, 9 years of judo.
Yeah, I think that was the other thing she said. And of course, Ben still can't pronounce the name of the Annihilog.
No, neither can I, so.
Yeah. I even find it funny that at the very end, when Gwen like is assuming that Ben is actually Lucy disguised as him, and he's like and he says, "Yep, have you met me?" He's like, "Hey, Ben Tennyson, have you ever met me before?" And then she like kind of lets it go and like accepts him, and then cousin Lucy actually like shapeshifts back to herself, and she like manages to trick her anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
I did find that funny. I also think that was the only time that Lucy actually like put some effort into actually genuinely trying to trick Gwen into thinking she's someone else. Although that might have been because she'd already taken the form of other people and tricked her a few times before that point. So maybe she just kind of took notice of that Gwen was actually like being more suspicious.
Oh, that could be.
Yeah, this episode essentially ends technically shortly before the end, or in terms of like where it would be in terms of like chronologically with the next episode. This episode ends like shortly before the end of the next episode, because I think it's like what 5 or so minutes near the end of the next episode, where the last 5 or so minutes of the next episode basically continues on from the end of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
everything else basically takes
It's
place
almost
at
like
the
a
same
two-parter.
time. Yeah. Except the two-parter that's happening at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. Next episode, Automotive. Which probably isn't that difficult to figure out what the title is referencing.
Well, there's someone in this particular episode named Otto, and what's his motives?
Yeah.
Yes.
But it also has a double meaning because it literally comes from the words automotive,
Yeah.
Yeah.
meaning cars, and this episode focuses on cars.
So something tells me there's going to be some Transformer references here.
Yep, there are.
You would know that better than I would.
Yeah. And a little bit of Power Rangers and Voltron.
Cool. Well, yeah, there's the assembly of the big, just like in Voltron. Well, no, I'm sorry, just like in Power Rangers, like you said, yeah.
Yeah. Although I feel like Voltron is probably like a proto Power Rangers.
Kinda, yeah.
Although, actually, no, technically Power Rangers would have been before Voltron if you go by the Japanese version, which is Super Sentai.
True,
That
but that's a
started
common.
in the 70s.
It's a common thing, though, in Japanese anime. You got these individual robots or vehicles or whatever that all form into, some big, kaiju type robot.
Yeah. Actually, did you know that the Power Rangers itself owes its creation to Spider-Man?
Huh.
Yeah, because in the 70s, the Japanese company Toei got the license to make a Spider-Man show, and they made
Yep.
like a live-action Spider-Man show.
I've seen it. Yep.
And they included a mech called Leopardon, and basically that mech basically acted as like a foundation for other, like the other shows in the same genre would then start being made.
I think there is insinuations that Japanese Spider-Man is actually one of the Spider-Men from, the multiverse of Marvel.
Yeah, the Spider-Verse comic, the actual Leopard and mech itself actually appears in that comic.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I would have loved if there had been a reference there, if Peter of our universe had seen that and been like, "That's not fair. All I got was a dune buggy."
Oh, that would be cool. Now I think about it, I wonder if there's like any like subtitled releases of the Japanese Spider-Man show.
Oh yeah.
There might be.
You can probably find fan subs, but I'm not 100% sure on like official subtitled versions.
You know who we'll have to ask is Aged Boomer. He kind of knows that stuff, yeah.
Oh, yeah. If you want to know something, ask the expert.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know there was a documentary about the Japanese Spider-Man show. And from what I've heard, they didn't go the standard route of, hey, look at this weird Japanese show that's very goofy. It's like, ooh, weird culture shock. Apparently the documentary didn't do that sort of thing. They actually lent into the, like, some of the behind the scenes information of like how it was made and why they made certain decisions and that sort of thing.
Cool.
Which I find more appealing to watch a document. If I watch a documentary, I find it more appealing that they go into the hows and the whys of like, why something's being made,
then the
rather than
point and laugh
focusing
kind
on
of
the
way,
culture's different and weird than ours. Let's just show a few screenshots to highlight our point that are probably out of context.
Exactly.
Yeah. Although I have nothing against Japanese shows being weird and goofy, because most of the time, if I watch something Japanese related, I'll watch it because of its kind of strange and goofy.
Sure.
I won't be looking at it like, ooh, look at the novelty of it.
Well, it's like I saw a Japanese movie, I don't know the name of it, where it had something to do with Valentine's Day, and the girls would give guys that they liked a chocolate that they made. And one girl put her blood into the chocolate, which supposedly when the guy ate it turned him into a vampire. It was like really bizarre movie.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to follow too, because it's like, the subtitles were kind of off and all that. It's like I kind of understood the premise of it. The guy has her blood, he turns into a vampire because she's a vampire. So instead of like her biting him, he just ingests her blood and becomes a vampire that way. It was just really bizarre because he was kind of like a vampire but zombie.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. That sounds very interesting. Now I feel compelled to search that up and watch it.
Yeah, it was taking place in a Japanese school. So it was like, Valentine's Day at the school. And so she brought a chocolate to give to some guy that she liked. Like I said, I don't know the name of it. I saw it once a long time ago. But when you mention the weirdness of some Japanese shows and movies, it's like, oh yeah, that reminded me of that one.
Yeah. Yeah, so this episode has Kevin and Rook going to an automotive show. I'm assuming it's on the Tetraman's home planet, but they never directly say that. So I'm just, given that the Tetramans are the primary like hosts of this show, I'm going to assume it's their home planet, or maybe a planet in their empire, maybe. But yeah, they're at this automotive show. I did actually enjoy this episode because it kind of had gave us the time to actually spend time with some characters that we don't really see interact too often, like Kevin and Rook, and they actually have some similar interests. Like they both like cars, and we have and we even have the same Tetraman from the start of season 2. I think his name was Gore, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and basically he shows off. He's like initially shows off. He wants to show them like his personal collection of cars, and this character here, Otto, then tries to steal them. And he as soon as him and his gang members are put inside the back of Rook's proto truck, he then basically turns it into a transformer.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Because it's like you have the although it's probably not exactly the same as a transformer, because obviously with a combined team, there would be all 5 members are actual living robots, whereas in this case it's one robot taking control of 5 vehicles. But yeah, it is very Transformers-esque. And also a little Power Rangers and Voltron-esque as well. Yeah, and the this right here is also a Transformers reference. It's in fact very obvious. Although weirdly enough, the wiki for this episode says that the head is modeled after G1 Optimus Prime. But the more I look at it, the more I see G1 Omega Super, well not Omega, the G1 Superion head.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you have the door wings on the back and everything. And these right here kind of look like the wheels of like the vehicle for shoulders.
Yeah, I gotta take your word on that. It's like I have no clue.
Yeah. Actually, no. The more I look at it, the more I get like a kind of a Superion and Bruticus kind of vibe, because the head is more Superion, and then these pipes on the back give me more of a Bruticus vibe, because he's normally a combiner or a combined mode that has like pipes or cannons or whatever they are on his back. Oh. There's some fan art of someone actually making it look more like a Transformer. Or more like a Transformer if Ben could turn into one.
Interesting.
Oh, and there's and there's fan art of Ben's car as a Transformer.
Yep.
Now I think about it, it's been a while since we've seen Ben's car.
True.
Yeah, probably got smashed by some other alien. You know. He hasn't replaced it yet.
And there's a Transformers Prime Cliffjumper figure painted green. I'm going to assume the fact that it's painted green is the only reason it's here.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And there's Earthrise smokescreen painted green and given an Omnitrix symbol. This is either a custom or it's a Photoshop. I'm not really sure.
There's a lot of fans having a lot of fun with this.
Yeah. It's hard to tell whether this is like a photoshopped image or or if someone actually bought the
Did
toy
a custom, yeah.
I mean, there are Transformers custom, so I wouldn't put it past someone to actually buy a figure and do this.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, this does look like the digital render of the figure that was like shown off when the figure was first released. Oh, there's another one of Kevin's car as a Transformer. Oh, it looked like someone actually named this one as well. Apparently it's called Wrecked. Which, now I think that's actually a fitting name for Kevin's car if it was a Transformer.
True.
Because his car does get wrecked a lot. I think that's meant to be the Michael Bay movie version of Bumblebee, but green. And now we're just seeing a whole bunch of Transformers fan art, but the characters are colored green. Some of these, it's definitely obviously like kind of a Transformers Ben 10 kind of fan art crossover type thing. Like this one, because that's clearly meant to be like a Ben 10-esque thing, because you can see the Omnitrix logo on his chest. Or actually, that's probably more of his stomach or abdomen. Okay, we could probably end up getting lost down that rabbit hole.
I suspect, yeah.
Yeah. And here's obviously Ben turns into this by transforming into Upgrade and then merging with Kevin's car and kind of morphing and transforming it into a robot. I find it funny that when Ben does that, Kevin even like points out, "Wait, you could have done that the whole time and you didn't." He's like, "You told me not to mess with your car."
Ha. It's like, well, I was just obeying your instructions.
Yeah. Although there was nothing necessarily stopping him from turning into Upgrade and merging with his own car rather than Kevin's.
True.
But then it wouldn't have been funny.
Yeah.
I mean, just like in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, he was able to get out of the handcuffs, and the detective guy was like, "Wait, you could have done that at a time?" He goes, "No, I couldn't have done it at any time. I could only do it when it was funny."
Yeah. I also like the fact that the robot mode for Kevin's car, when it's upgraded, has the letter 11 on the front.
So now he's been 11?
Even though Kevin's not even 11 years old anymore, he's like 17.
Well, maybe he just likes that number.
Yeah. I suppose he technically still could be called Kevin 11 because his middle name starts with an E and his last name is Levin.
Yeah, that does work. That's maybe why he's got 11 as his number there.
Yeah.
It's the play on words.
Yeah. I did also find it funny that after both Rook's truck and Kevin's car are both completely wrecked, and they Gore like offers them one of his like cars that they saved to them, and they choose the car that's made purely of tadenite, because like earlier they mentioned that car's basically made of literally made of money. And like Rook's like questioning Kevin as to why he chose that car, and Kevin's just like was like, well, we can sell off the car and use the money to repair our vehicles.
Well,
I did like even have Ben jumping in, adding like, is like good luck trying to find someone in the universe who will actually be able to buy the car off you.
Who said they were going to find somebody in the universe?
Personally, I would have gone with they could have chipped off pieces of tadenite that like added up to the amount that they would need to actually like fund to actually then repair their cars.
Yeah, but now they've got enough for other things that they need too, equipment and what have you.
Yeah, but I don't know if the tadenite loses value if it's been chipped off. If the car itself has been like bits of it have been chipped off, I don't know if it loses value. Although I suppose anyone like buying wouldn't really know that the tadenite has come from like a solid car made of the stuff.
That's true. I mean, seriously, would the buyer even know what a car looks like?
Yeah, that is a point. Although I feel like with Tetramans, they would probably end up making cars like a lot larger because they tend to be larger. Okay, next episode, A Fistful of Brains.
I love that title.
Obviously, a play on A Fistful of Dollars, the classic Western.
Yep. And it's not just this episode. If I'm not mistaken, A Fistful of Dollars and then for a few dollars more, is that the order they go in?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense because that's the order the episode titles have gone in.
So what was that comment? I missed it.
Fistful of dollars, and for a few dollars more, these two Ben 10 episodes are
Oh,
a fistful of brains, and for a few brains more.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
Yeah. I mean, I did choose the like a screenshot from the final episode of the season as like the thumbnail for the stream. Basically, that image there, specifically because I like that image, and also I couldn't really think of any other image from the season. Yeah, so this episode has Kyber return. Obviously, the previous episode, the ultimate heist, kind of hinted, or for the most part of the episode, kind of hinted that someone was working with Albedo.
Right.
And then at the end of that episode, they then revealed that it was Kyber who was working with him. Yeah, and so what has happened is Kyber and Albedo have worked together. Not 100% sure to what end exactly, because I feel like both members in this partnership have different goals in mind.
Yeah.
Because all Kyber really cares about is hunting Ben, and Albedo only really cares about, I suppose, two things: getting his Galvin form back, and then getting revenge on either Azimuth or Ben. Yeah, and we have Ben is tricked into getting on board a ship, or Albedo gets Ben to chase him into like a room that is actually like a ship that's been disguised as like a random warehouse building, and then it takes off and flies off and drops Ben off on Kyber's personal like hunting world. Which, even though the whole Nematrix and the idea behind it hasn't really appeared too much, I do feel like there's probably still more they could possibly do with the overall idea of the Nematrix.
Sure.
Because you have the different aliens in Ben's Omnitrix, and like that one with their natural predators as well. So I feel like there's probably still more you can do with that. Although they only stuck to a specific number of predators for different aliens of Ben. Because Ben has a whole bunch of other aliens that he could use that probably have a natural predator, but we just haven't seen it, and they didn't create a design for.
Yeah.
So I feel like Ben could probably get around that problem by just turning into an alien that doesn't have, or that he knows Kyber hasn't programmed like the natural predator of into the Nematrix.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, and since what's the name of Vex, I think is the dog's name. The dog that Kyber was originally working with and had the Nematrix on. Actually, I don't think it is Vex. I think it's like Rex or something. I've completely forgotten the name, but yeah, that purple dog that is now accompanying Kevin rather than Kyber. After he lost that, or after he lost that specific dog, he then got a new dog cat thing to put the Nematrix on.
Dog cat thing, I love it.
Yeah, like a saber cat looking thing. Or a tiger saber cat. And maybe I'm the only one that noticed this, but this thing kind of resembles Battle Cat from He-Man.
Oh yeah.
And it actually resembles Battle Cat even more so when we take into account later in the next episode when this thing goes into like its ultimate form and it has like armor on it and it looks even more like Battle Cat. I mean, it's even making the exact same noises as Battle Cat as well. Although, weirdly enough, the Ben 10 wiki doesn't mention that for some reason.
Could just be that the people that contribute just didn't notice.
Yeah.
It's not in their wheelhouse.
Yeah. Most of the time, the Ben 10 wiki does tend to point out the, like, a lot of the obvious, like, references being made. Like in one episode where a character will quote Star Wars, it's very clear and obvious what's being referenced in that sense.
Well, because these wikis tend to be, open to the public and anyone can contribute, you should go ahead and contribute some of these things you notice.
Yeah. I wonder if I have to make an account
Probably,
on
yeah.
a wiki to do that.
Probably.
I'll look more into that. Yeah, and the yeah, so basically Ben's stuck on Kyber's hunting world. Grandpa Max and Rook have no idea where he is because they can't track him. And Albedo is like cutting off nails or pulling out hairs and leaving them in different planets. Grandpa Max and Rook away from, or basically on a wild goose chase.
Yeah.
Because obviously Albedo in human form is identical to Ben. Although Grandpa Max does actually point that out to Rook. Yeah, and we, of course, like mentioned before, Albedo's ultimate Galvin form is that of, or very obviously meant to look like MODOK from Marvel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, now that you've pointed it out, I can't unsee it.
Yeah. Although, I don't think MODOK has a third eye on his forehead. I'm pretty sure there is still something there on his forehead, but I don't think it's an eye.
Oh, now I gotta look.
Of course you do.
Let's see here. He does have, it's like a headband with a glowing gem there.
Ah, okay.
So he's gemming the holograms?
One could argue that he's truly outrageous.
Yeah. So I do like the fact that the I'm just gonna call it not Battle Cat because that's honestly the only thing that I can see when I look at it. Yeah, so the not Battle Cats here wearing the Nemetrix, they because they're the natural predator of Ditto, they can also duplicate themselves as well. Although it appears they don't have to rejoin back together, they can actually just split and then the Nemetrix will turn the individual copies into a different alien. Similar to what Ben did with Echo in Ultimate Alien. Although I'd imagine there's no a split of emotions in this case, because the alien being in question is more of isn't necessarily sentient and is more feral. So maybe it's a more even split in that case.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about this.
No.
Except that I think it's either at the end of this episode or the start of the next episode where no, I think it's the end of this episode they reveal that they have Azimuth that they've managed to capture azimuth, which I'm pretty sure that happened off screen because we never saw that happen, and we also didn't get any like mention of how they managed to do that. They just sort of have him captured now.
Well, of course they do.
Yeah, and they basically drain out Azimuth's intelligence, and they even mentioned the fact that Galvins have like a second brain, or one that's like their intelligence, and then another that's controls their basic functions. And after Albedo drains out Azimuth's intelligence to then add to his own, we then get like most of the second episode is various moments of Azimuth being like very like dumb and very like very purely like just instinct and like not really that much intelligence behind him.
Oh yeah, because if they
Which,
still had him being smart, that would kind of defeat the purpose of the episode.
Yeah, I did find some of the like the dumb Azimuth jokes that were being made. I did find some of them funny. Like I did find it funny that he's like he starts banging his head on the wall, and Ben's like yeah, he's banging his head on the wall. I don't know what he's trying to tell me. And I think it was either Grandpa Max or Rook said to him, like, I think he's trying to tell you that he doesn't have any brains. What do you? Oh well, I keep doing that thing where I'm like trying to show you something, but then I'm like realizing I haven't clicked the button to share the screen.
Oh,
there we go. Okay, now I'm sharing the screen. What do you think of this design for Ultimate Humungosaur?
well, I like the battle armor, that's for sure.
Yeah. Still looks mostly the same as like the Ultimate Humungosaur from Ultimate Alien.
Kinda, yeah.
I think it's mostly that design, but then with a few modifications to it. Because he still has the mace tail.
You know, that's another one of those missed opportunities where if they'd have thought it through a little bit more, I like the idea that you have an Omnitrix that turns you into an ultimate, in other words, an evolved version of an alien that currently exists. We know what the genetics of the current alien is. And
Yeah.
the Matrix is projecting out what a possible future evolution of that could be. So what would be really interesting is if every time you turn into an ultimate whatever, it's different, because there's different subtle variations that occur in the calculation,
Yeah.
because it is speculative.
Oh, as if it's like being, because I think the way it works in this show is that once it's the form is evolved, it's then changes you into that specific evolved form.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming what you're going for is more the Omnitrix itself takes the evolved form as a base and then evolves that, and then
No.
evolves
What
it.
I'm thinking is it does a new calculation from the current real world alien and does a brand new evolution calculation every time.
Oh, so basically evolves them, but in like if there was different circumstances to cause them to
Exactly. So what if today I evolve into Ultimate Humungosaur as we knew from the previous show, right? And then since that time, since I last evolved into Ultimate Humungosaur, there was a cataclysm on their planet that turned it into a desert planet. So now the Omnitrix or the Ultimatrix would factor that into the evolution so that the future version, is that what would occur if you evolved on a desert planet, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of a neat premise.
See, this is what I mean. This is the fans putting more thought into it sometimes than the showmakers.
Yeah. Although the instance, you probably can't really pin this on omniverse necessarily, because the ultimate forms aren't that key to this show.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's more so an ultimate alien thing.
My thought, though, is if that was the case, then this could be a perfect explanation of why this one is slightly different from the other.
Yeah.
Doesn't explain why Gwen and Kevin look different, but that's beside the point.
I mean, they do kind of like... I'm pretty sure they did. They don't mention why they're different, but they do actually point out that they're. I'm assuming it's just that they decided to change the way they look.
Yeah, she went off to college and became a goofy hippie,
Yeah,
Like
because it's not that unreasonable to think that someone would cut their hair short or decide to cut their hair short
and start wearing glasses and change her clothing. Yeah, she became,
She wanted to come across as more studious. And
a radical lefty. That's what she looks like.
Actually, I don't think Gwen has ever worn glasses before.
Mm-hmm.
Unless there's a point where she wore them briefly, but I don't remember that.
I mean, unless she suddenly had some sudden onset astigmatism develop, she's got to be wearing them for looks. She's literally affecting a look.
Right, because she's in college now. She wants to appear mature and intelligent, so she's, got rid of the little girl look and is now trying to look more adult.
Well, before she went to college, she was looking, kind of hot. She was doing good. And then she decided, nope, can't have that. Chop off all my hair, put on a pair of glasses. It's the kind of, I just have this radical feminist kind of reaction, That's how it comes off to me.
Yeah. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually look up the what the thought process was behind some of the character designs for this show.
Yeah.
See what like, I'm assuming it was just Derek J. Wyatt Derek J. Wyatt, the design that came up with the designs, or if he had input from other people as well. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to look into that and see what I can find. Yeah, personally myself, I would have liked if the Ultimate Alien feature itself, if they actually included more aliens when using that feature, because that's one of the most confusing parts about that show, is that technically he can just go ultimate form with any of the aliens he turns into, but for whatever reason he only just defaults to a specific number of them. Although in these episodes, Albedo does actually turn into the ultimate form of a couple other aliens, specifically Arctoguana here, who I swear has kind of a Blastoise influence to his design, like from Pokemon.
Kinda, yeah.
But once again, the Ben 10 wiki doesn't mention that, like, at all. Maybe it's just me, like, kind of noticing minor similarities and then just assuming that there's an influence, but yeah, still that's kind of confusing when they do that. And they have also, if I can find an image, no, here it is. Yeah, they have an Ultimate Gravitac, who also kind of has a Pokemon vibe to his appearance. Although this time the Ben 10 wiki does mention this one having a Pokemon influence.
Kind of makes sense.
They're gonna try not to be obvious about it, but yeah, you can
Yeah,
tell.
yeah, because you have these little like moon things here. I've forgotten what the name of the Pokemon is, but there is one that's kind of a blocky, like moon-looking spherical like Pokemon that's very similar to this.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. That wasn't my thing.
Yeah, on me personally, I view Pokemon as that show I used to watch when I was 5, and then didn't watch anymore sometime after that.
I get that.
Not out of a dislike, it didn't really interest me like at a certain point after that.
Sure.
I have fond memories of watching the show when I was 5, but once I stopped watching it, I'm not really that interested to go back, honestly.
Yeah.
I perfectly fine that just staying as the show I watched when I was 5. Yeah, here's an image of the ultimate. Every time I look at that word, I think pancreas for some reason. I know that's not what that's meant to say, though.
Well, I can see why you would say that.
I think it's meant to be like a combination, like panther and then another cat-themed animal. Yeah, but yeah, the ultimate form of this animal, that might be more obviously like Battle Cat inspired. Because you have the helmet over the head, a few spikes on the back. Although now I just thought of this, if Raph was if Ben went into an ultimate form for Raph, would his personality be more excessive than it already is?
Interesting. I don't know.
Because I know that the personality and the way Apoplexians act and talk is like part of their species and everything. So I'm curious if that would be like more excessive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, the final episode has Ben turn into this new alien whose name is Atomics, who technically the name comes from the original series, because in the Ben 10,000 future from the original series, the second episode when Ben has a son that he gives an Omtrix to, one of the aliens that is mentioned in that episode is Atomics, which obviously at the time they wouldn't have referred to this because this alien wouldn't have been made at that point. I think it's more of a case of them kind of retroactively going back and applying an alien to a name that has already been mentioned.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So I suppose retroactively we can assume that this is the alien that Ben's son was referring to in that alternate future.
Yeah.
Providing the situation was similar enough that he would end up with this alien in that alternate future.
Yeah, possibly.
Although considering that future version of Ben does use aliens that Ben unlocked after already having travelled to that future, and then it ended up becoming an alternate future. But that was more of a case of the show itself, the design for the aliens being created after that episode aired, so they wouldn't have been able to include them then. I also find this funny with like the pixie alien that Ben turns into, like does this like dream like mind control thing on Kaiba, and he's like inside his head he's like happy and he's like working with Grandpa Max, Ben and Gwen. He's like their friend and everything. I did find that kind of funny, although that seems slightly like a weird thing. I'm going to assume that's mostly images that Ben put into his head, because Kaiba's not exactly the kind of person that I would expect to like secretly have the desire to actually be like friends with Ben, Gwen, and Grandpa Max and be working with them.
Yeah, hard to say for sure.
And we also have okay, here's the part at the end where Azimuth, or where Ben asks Azimuth like why he keeps getting the wrong alien, or the one that he doesn't the one he isn't choosing, and Azimuth says to him, now obviously the Benton Wiki itself mentions this as being an explanation as to why he gets the wrong alien, but if you actually listen to what Azimuth is saying, he's not talking about that Ben getting the wrong alien, because he explains that he says that's because you keep slamming down the dial and it sets the timer to a random, the timeout function to a random time. It's like, when you actually pay attention, that's clearly not the answer to the question Ben was asking.
It certainly does seem to imply it, though.
Yeah, because what Azimuth was actually answering was why Ben times out at random times, because throughout the season, he's not well, the season and the show overall, he's not been timing out after 10 minutes. Sometimes he times out after like 5 seconds. Sometimes he stays an alien for like multiple, he'll stay an alien for like 15 minutes. Sometimes he'll stay an alien for like 9 minutes, or maybe he'll stay an alien for 5 minutes. But like, it's kind of inconsistent how long he'll stay a specific alien for. And basically what Azimuth was answering was, he gave an answer to that, but that's not the question Ben asked.
I think it's along the same premise, though. If he turns the dial and he slams his hand down, it could be when he's putting his hand down, he's turning the dial slightly and it changes the alien.
Right. That's what I was going to say, too.
Yeah.
When he slams it down, he's locking in both the alien he's going to turn into and the amount of time that he'll be that alien. So...
yeah.
If you're affecting one, you're affecting the other, very likely.
Yeah.
Although, does that change anything going forward? Does he stop slamming like that? I'll bet you they don't.
No, as far as I'm aware, he keeps slamming it down like that.
And so he's a dumbass. It's his own fault. He was told what happens and why.
Yeah. I do remember the season finale for the show overall. From what I remember, it does kind of lean more in the direction of the Omnitrix actively changing him to an alien that he didn't actually choose.
Mm.
They don't directly say that's the reason, but they kind of strongly imply that that's the reason.
It's almost like Doctor Who, where he's like, you never took me where I wanted to go. No, I took you where you needed to go.
Yeah, I used to really like that possible explanation for the Omnitrix, but now it doesn't really look like that's the case. It's just... Well, it also seems like they're just going to change the reason whenever it suits the story.
You got a point.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it is a shame we're not going to be able to get to the season 5, which from what I've looked at, apparently seems to be like Halloween themed to some extent.
Yeah.
Or at least a few episodes appear to be Halloween themed, which is a shame we're not going to be actually talking about them on Halloween, but rather like, I think like a week, possibly 2 weeks after.
Just shortly after.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, like a week after Halloween is when we'll be talking about the next season. Yeah, which is a shame. Although I suppose actually technically you'll be watching the episodes closer to Halloween.
Exactly.
And then we'll be talking about them after Halloween.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. Also, the next season is the only one that has like an actual subtitle to the season, because it's called Galactic Monsters. Literally, the previous seasons we talked about didn't have any kind of subtitle to them, and then the seasons after season 5 also don't have a subtitle to the season.
Interesting.
I don't know why only the next season and no others, but weird decision making. Don't fully understand why.
Well, it does imply that any season that gets a subtitle has some sort of overarching story idea, so it implies some thought went into it.
I guess
Yeah.
we'll see.
I mean, season 3 had an overarching story, but they didn't give that a subtitle to the season. And also seasons 1 and 2 technically had an overarching story across both of them, but none of them got a subtitle either.
Yeah. Alrighty then.
I'm curious if that was maybe a like creative decision by the people making it, or maybe an executive decision from the company that like produced the like the company overall that makes the show. Because I feel like maybe the larger companies that own like shows like these or that produce them may have some influence in stuff like that. But yeah, so obviously in 2 weeks we will be covering Ben 10 Omniverse Season 5. I'm probably not gonna add the Galactic Monsters to the title. I'm probably just gonna leave it at Season 5.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, because that's the only season that has a subtitle, and all the others don't. And it'll be weird to have like 7 seasons of no subtitle and only one that does have one.
Right.
So I'm just probably not gonna add that. I'm just gonna leave it as just seasons like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Yeah, so 2 weeks we'll be covering season 5 of Omniverse.
Awesome.
Yep. Actually, I'm curious, is there a chance that Nanette will be with us as well, or is that kind
Yes.
of not a guarantee right now?
Yeah. No. Things are, well, especially with the construction being done, things are loosening up for her. So yeah, she'll be here next week, or in
Okay.
2
Yeah,
weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah, so let the Matrix light your darkest hour till all are one.
Bye, everyone.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.